Today at Comm Week 2021. I'm going to totally confuse you guys. My name is Jessica Newman. This is Jessica Stong. So you're getting a double dose. That's right. True. It's not confusing. Double dose of Jessica here. Again, I am a faculty member here in the Elliott School, and I am so excited to introduce my friend Jessica. And so Jessica is a CEO and owner of Lives of Courage, which is her coaching organization. There's a lot of different facets to it, which I'll let her describe. But what I can tell you is this girl has lived so many lifetimes and done so many things. I don't know if she'll talk about this, but she's lived in a commune before. Yep. I mean, this girl has done, like, if you've ever had a thought of, I should just do this, she's probably done it. And that's what I love about her. Now, beyond all that fun stuff, she also has a master's in developmental psychology. Yep. Is that right? And so her coaching organization has a very strong foundation in developmental psychology, specifically cognitive behavioral coaching. And she's here today mainly because we are all collectively in this stage of burnout / dealing with COVID / in, yes, out, you know what I mean? We're all there, right? And so we wanted, as a faculty, we wanted to bring in somebody who could help you guys and say, let's make sense of this collective trauma that we've all, yes, experienced. And let's make sense of how we can intentionally use our thoughts and our emotions to choose what behaviors we entertain and what behaviors are not just coming out of us, right? I've learned from you. See, I can tell she's proud of me. So you guys are going to love Jessica. She's fantastic. I'm excited to see what she can teach us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Can you come with me to every presentation? Because that's the best summary I've ever had. When I try to do it myself, it comes out like, I believe in the goodness of people, and that's about it. So I learned how to train rats in graduate school, right? Actually, for a year, I trained. Can I say, cuss? I mean,
go for
who's
it.
On the thing over here?
You're fine.
Not children. I learned how to train rats, damn rats, in graduate school to learn the principles of behavior change, right? So just listen to me when I say that you are nothing like rats, right? There is nothing. We have feelings, we have thoughts, we have all of the emotions that have come up. So I'm going to talk to you today about staying centered, but really what it means to live in today's world with all the COVID, with all the Omicron, or however we want to say it, right? Or the next wave of whatever may come our way. It could be for you, it could be graduation, it could be, I don't know, what stresses you out. I want to talk about stress today and how you manage stress, and I have some tips for you based on a long life of trial and error, right? I have a podcast. Do you like that shameless plug? I didn't mean to do that so early in the speech. I have a podcast, and my favorite thing to talk about is the way I got myself into things when I was your age. So I decided I would move to France after graduate school. And they said, I wanted to go to Le Cordon Bleu. Does anybody, it's a cooking school that Julia Child went to. So I was there. Thank you, I'm not that old, right? And they said, do you have knife skills? Well, sure. I mean, I can cut an apple. How hard? And do you speak French? Well, I was going for 2 weeks, and I thought I could learn French in 2 weeks, right? So I was hopefully optimistic and lied my way into a very prestigious chef school, all in the name of courage. So you guys, I'm so excited to talk to you today about really courage, centeredness, and mental health. So we're going to talk about the ways you can manage your mind. Of course, who doesn't want to start the day with some statistics from the UN Happiness World Report? Because that's what I thrive on, is boring statistics. We're going to talk about 5 obstacles, 5 hurdles to mental health. I told you I wouldn't go that way. I'm so sorry. I'm a wanderer. I have this saying that I want you guys to remember. It's feel it to heal it, and we'll get to that. And then I have a daily challenge for each of you to help you manage your stress levels, to help you manage what it feels like, what it looks like to live in today's world, to exist in the chaos. because I think it's about living and being in it. It's not controlling it. It's not saying that I will control my environment, because as my professor used to always say to me, you can argue with reality, but you will lose 100% of the time. And frankly, I thought that was very condescending. But it's the truth. Things are going to happen to us. There will be pandemics. There will be, that was a bad example. We should have worked on that a little bit more. There will be things happen in your life, right? And our work as people, our work is to figure out how to manage it. And I think if you learn now how to manage it, think of what you can do, think of how you can live from that state of being and knowing that you can do anything that you want. So that's about William James. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over the other. As a psychology undergrad, this made me very angry, I'll be honest, because I didn't feel like I had the ability to choose my thoughts about finals, to choose my thoughts about the papers that were due or the things that I was in control of. And so I want to introduce this as with a caveat, please don't hate me. I come in good faith, right? And knowing that this has taken me years, we won't say my age, but I could be your parents, but we won't go there. Okay, just give me this. We're gonna do a World Happiness Report. They've been doing this since 2012, people. And they take Gallup polls and they learn about, and I'm gonna check my notes because I have a tendency, Jess knows, to make up names, make up statistics. I'll just guess, close enough, right? So I wanna get this right. What do you believe is the happiest country? What is the happiest country? So close. That's, I believe, Sweden's, is there? Denmark's third, Finland, followed by Iceland, right? I would be, and I wonder, what makes these people so happy? What do you think it is? I lived in London. Amen. Preach it, sister. Red hair. I've just got to keep it. Anything else? What other things? Yes, they look at gross domestic product. They look at how much time people have off for childcare. They look at, do they have access to medicine? What other things do you think they look at? People's quality of life measures. So they survey people. Let's see what I have on the next slide. I always love this. These slides are as much as a mystery to me as they are to you. Let's be clear here. So in 2021, they just finished the report, right? And they looked at everybody's life evaluations in specific countries. So do they believe they have a good quality of life? What are their thoughts and their feelings? It's not, gross domestic product doesn't have everything to do with the happiness of a people. And we know that how much you make doesn't always equate to your happiness, your ability to withstand stress. They looked at people's positive emotions. So do they feel positive emotions? And what are those positive emotions, like gratitude, like joy, like hope, like resilience? What about grit? And how many of you have heard about growth mindset? This is my other favorite thing to talk about. And I won't go into, maybe I'll come back one day and we can all sit and talk about growth mindset, right? That would be so much fun. But it is this idea that we can change our thoughts about who we are and what we're able to achieve. They looked at that. They also looked at people's reports of their negative emotions. So how bad did they feel? When did they feel? And what do you think was impacted by the COVID pandemic? all of these measures, but not in the way that they thought. And so I come to you guys knowing we've all been impacted. Our social lives have been impacted. We wear masks. We can't see people's faces. I'm not saying that masks are bad. I don't want that statement out there. I love a good mask. But I want you to know that we've all been impacted in some way by this pandemic. And we have research that now shows that people have been deeply impacted. And so we have to learn how to manage our stress. We have to understand that we have power in the process. Now, I cannot remember, this is something I should have probably written down, what number the United States is. I believe it's 17 or 19. Let's not quote me. Do you like how I forgot the United States? What is this? What do you think it is? 17 or 19? Probably 19. That's where we're going to go, right? And why? Why are we so low when we have so much money? I believe, personally, because I've got a lot to say on this, that we, as a country, we are not taught, as a people, we are not taught how to deal with our emotions. In fact, our world says distract or like drink your way. I do love a good glass of wine, or smoke, or shop, right? We are not taught how to feel our emotions. And so often we see this in the world. We see this when, Costco Karen was melting down over having to wear it. We see people, adults, us, struggling in today's world. And so I mentioned this UN report as a way to say people are watching, people are looking. And I want you to understand that you are not alone, that there's work out there. And that when we understand what it means to be happy, how many TED Talks are on happiness and feeling less stressed, right? I took a TED Talk class one time. It was very serious, I want you to know. There was a lot of technology involved. But why don't we take what we've learned and then use it? Why don't we apply it to our lives? And so I want to help you apply it to your life today. Okay, there are 5 obstacles. Do you like my graphics? Guys, I did struggle with staying centered when I was presenting to the School of Communications, right? This requires a level of graphics, detailed graphics. Normally I'm just like, here's a picture. This is what you get. So I believe that we think that we go from point A to point B and it should be easy, right? I know I think that we should start school and end school in 4 years, right? I took 5, then 2 for graduate. Like, who wants to rush through it, right? I know a lot, an admin, if we are on the 4-year track. Sorry, but I think that sometimes it's a winding road. And we don't understand. We come to an obstacle and we say, that's it, I should probably quit school. Or I should probably quit this class. Or I should probably quit, I don't know, why am I on quitting? I should probably drop this friend because there's a bump in the road. Or what are these, speed bumps, I guess? There's someone walking across the road. Our journey through, our road is never straight and it's never without obstacles. So I believe the more that we can plan for obstacles, the better we have in response to said obstacles. I want you to think about the obstacles you've already faced. Well, COVID would be one of those, right? Online learning. I want you to think about all of the others. So I want to talk about 5 obstacles on your path. Obstacle 1 is your primitive brain. How many know that I believe, and I used Dr. Daniel Siegel, who wrote Mindsight, Brainstorm, all these great books. He's a psychiatrist. He explains our brain like this. It's the hand model of the brain. Here we have our primitive brain, right? It's designed for three things: seek pleasure, right? I mean, come on. Avoid pain and keep you safe. Your primitive brain is always looking around, looking for the lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. I have to say that because we're from Kansas, right? And so what do we do? Our brain is always looking, and it's doing its job when it sees danger, when it's seeking pleasure, but we think we have a personality defect. We think something's wrong with us when it's really our primitive brain doing its job, looking out for us, right? And so here is the emotional center of our brain, the limbic system, our amygdala, all those fun things. You guys are communications, but the reason I tell you is if you learn about your brain now, you can learn to work with your brain instead of against it. And really enveloping, that's such a delightful word, isn't it? Enveloping that, or over that, is your cortex and your prefrontal cortex, which is my favorite thing to talk about. Jess knows this. What does this do? It controls your primitive brain's responses. This is in charge of metacognition, thinking about your thinking, emotional control. It's in charge of like planning and prioritization, which I know it will come as no surprise to anybody here listening to me talk. I do have ADHD, which is the dysfunction in your prefrontal cortex, right? So if you tell me to manage my time, I might possibly be here until 12:30, just chit-chatting away, right? So this is what your prefrontal cortex does. If you don't understand that, and you are operating from your primitive brain, guess what happens? You flip your lid. You've heard people say, you've flipped your lid? Or is that, okay, thank you. I really appreciate this audience engagement. So yes, so you have no control. You have no emotional control. You have no skills of thinking about what you're going to do. Your prefrontal cortex is offline. Why does this matter? Because we think that when we're emotional or a primitive brain has become on, we think that there's something flawed in us. We don't understand how our brains work. We don't understand that emotional response that all of us have that we think we should turn off, right? And that's when we shut down. That's when we explode. That's when all of the things happen because we don't understand how to calm ourselves down. I also love to talk about cognitive distortions because I was trained in cognitive behavioral therapy. I call these thought errors, right? There are 10 universal thought errors. Sometimes people say there are 14. We're just going to go with 10, right? And I believe that when we don't understand our primitive brain, we see it as an obstacle. We see ourselves as like, I'm panicked. Something's wrong with me. I'm scared about the test. I'm scared about the final. I'm scared about the paper. I'm going to give up. I don't know what to do. And so our brains, we have thoughts about it. Our brains have lots of thoughts about a lot of things, right? It's constantly going. Some people say they make up numbers. No one's ever said like how many thoughts you actually have. Maybe some of you can weigh in on this, but a lot of thoughts. We're just going to go there. And sometimes our thoughts are not true. They're not real, and we distort reality. And so I love this idea of we discount the positive. We discount what is good. We discount the role of our brain and the way our brain is supposed to work. And so the way around this obstacle, let's say you're going through school and you're like, your primitive brain says, this is a danger. And it could be talking to an administrator. It could be talking to your professor about something that's happened to you and you might not be able to take the test. I don't know why I just used that. But your brain's going to say, be afraid. And the work around that primitive brain's response is to look for the bright spots, to train your brain to look for the truth, because our brains are wired for negativity. I hate to say it, right? It's called negativity bias in our brains. And our brains are always going to be looking for the negative. And so what we have to do, what we get to do, is continually be rewiring our brain to see the positive. And I don't want you to mistake this as toxic positivity, because it is not. It is being true to how you really feel. But also at the same time, it's not an either or, another cognitive distortion. You can feel shitty, right? You can feel upset, you can feel bad, and at the same time, you can look around you and say, that person was nice to me today. I learned something I didn't know. I did something I haven't done before. So we're training our brain away from its natural wiring of negativity, which that's so positive, right? So another obstacle is living for 2025. And this could be living for 2030, or living for graduation, or living for the day that you make $1 million, or you lose 70 pounds, or fill in the blank, right? And we believe that is when we will be happy. That's when we'll be less stressed. That's when we'll be centered. I hate to tell you that the clients that come to me in my work previously as a therapist and now as a coach, right? The problems that they had then, that they have now, are a result of thinking the same way. Just because you lose the weight or make the money or get out of college doesn't mean you're going to leave those thoughts behind, because thoughts are practiced in our brains. Our mindsets are just thoughts we practiced over and over again. And so the work here, the way around this obstacle, is staying in the moment. And I know, come on, who wants to talk about mindfulness? Well, I do, right? I love it. Thank you. Or meditation, or staying in the moment. Because what our brains love to do is jump ahead. Our brains love to fortune tell. They love to mind read, jump to conclusions. And sometimes it's positive, like my life will be better when I graduate. My favorite was always like, my life will be better when this final's over. There's always another final, right? And then when you graduate, there's like life finals. Just made that up, but maybe one day I'll talk about that. Your whole life is a final, right? And so what are you going to do when you get to the next thing? So our work is to change our thoughts, to change the way we think. And so I just needed to throw this in here, right? And I do have a quote that I don't want to make up. Or a statistic. So I believe that one of the greatest obstacles for all of us is the social media vortex. It sucks you in. It spits you out. My favorite thing to talk about is the compare and despair trap, right? That person, their life looks pretty darn easy. It's a lie. Like, do you post all the pictures when you have 7,000 chins? As if my kids take a picture of me, I look like this, right? No, I don't post those, although I do on my Instagrams. I often will. So I'm like, this is the reality of life. But we get sucked in. And what does it say? There was a journal of affective disorders. Sounds fun, right? So I take all the boring psych things and then make them exciting, right? And they published a study that 18 to 22-year-olds, the more time they spend on social media, the more likely they were to have symptoms of anxiety. Sorry. Okay, I'm good. Okay. But this is true. You guys, I coach 60-year-old women and men, right? Who are CEOs of large companies on both coasts, right? And they still compare and despair. What if you could learn right now that that doesn't have to be your reality? And I believe the way over that obstacle, the way around that obstacle is to power down. But it's not like take a week off of social media, although I recently had to because somehow I got banned from Instagram, or not banned, blocked. Not because I said anything, because I entered my password 7,000 times because I couldn't remember it. That's how I roll, right? So I don't want, lest you think I'm saying mean things on social media. I am not. But powering down 5 minutes a day. Like I coach people who are, these are adults. I don't know why I call them adults. You're adults. These are older people, older than me, right? Who are, they wake up and they look at their phone. They go to bed and they look at their phone and they look for their emails. They look for all of the work stuff that comes through. They're never without it. And I believe all of us are there, right? How do you let go? How do you get out of the darn vortex? 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We start slow. What we know about behavioral therapy, right? Behavioral interventions is that it's small changes over time. Our brains want to go big or go home, right? Like I'm going to start an exercise routine. I'm going to stop checking social media 17 days in a row. That's setting yourself up to fail. I don't mean to be Debbie Downer here. What if you could do it 5 minutes and then next week, practice that so well that you start 10 minutes. My favorite book on habits is by B.J. Fogg, Tiny Habits. If you ever want to read a book, do not read Atomic Habits. Well, I mean, you can. I don't care. All books are great. I didn't mean to say that. But Tiny Habits, it's a social scientist, it's a psychologist who is writing about behavior change. It's small changes over time. He has his clients floss 1 tooth a week and then floss 2. That would drive me absolutely bonkers, but the point is the same. So power down, but don't say you're going to do it for a full day. Don't set yourself up for failure, but find some way to walk away. What is it? Break the wrist and walk away. It's like, just walk away, right? If anything, how do we let go? Our next obstacle is spinning our wheels. I also appreciate I have knitted doilies or adorned my bike before, you guys. Had a Vespa in college. I don't know why I'm telling you this, and it had a knitted seat cover. Because why not? Why not? So I believe that so many of us spin our wheels. Here's what I do. I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm really upset. My primitive brain's like, you're failing. You're not doing it. You're not getting it. You're never going to be, I don't know, a success, fill in the blank. You'll never be a chef because you ding dong. You didn't prepare for this. You do not know French. I'm here to tell you that the French are very nice because they're like, you ding dong Kansan. And so they took me under their wing and I graduated, you guys. Why not, right? But the thing is, how do we stop spinning our wheels? So you have a thought, I'm gonna fail. I'm not going to do well. And guess what happens? You have more of those thoughts. And what happens then? I believe that our thoughts create our emotions, and those emotions drive the behavior, the action we take. So the thought is, oh hell, I'm a failure. The emotion is, right, overwhelm. And the action, I go into overdrive. I go into overaction, right? I'm like, I'll do all the things. I'll cram for a test. I won't sleep at night, fill in the blank, right? We saw this in the pandemic. We were all so nervous. So we started spinning our wheels, not being able to create change, but we worried and worried some more about it. So I believe that the way around, the way through this obstacle is finding your why. Why does it matter that you want to do a good job on a test? Why does it matter that you are striving for perfection? When you understand your why of why something matters, and it's not a universal, like, I mean, it could be. If you guys are there, more power to you. But it is like, why are you doing what you're doing right now? Why does it matter? And if it doesn't matter, how do you walk away? How do you say this isn't a priority? And that comes from reclaiming your thoughts. It comes from reclaiming what matters to you and what you believe about yourself. I think for so many of us, the fundamental challenge of our days and of our lives is the belief that we aren't good enough. All of us, I don't care who it is, it's my CEOs who make obscene amounts of money that I coach. And they still struggle that they aren't worthy, that they don't deserve what they have. And so the work is finding why it matters and why you matter, because I believe we all matter, that we all are worthy. And that when we decide that now, if you could decide that now, your life will forever be changed. I mean, it's super simple. Just decide. No, it's practicing the thoughts. I believe the way we change our thoughts is just merely by practicing alternative thoughts over and over again. The thoughts you've thought, I believe beliefs are just thoughts you've thought and practiced over and over and over again. That comes via cognitive behavioral interventions, not, I said I believe, like I came up with that, lest you think. Our last obstacle, I mean, there's 1,000 obstacles, you can think of them. Mean people, but really, mean people are what we make them mean. As we learned in the beginning, we change anything about our reality. I mean, we can, but we can't often change people. But what we can do is change what we think about them. We can change their hold on us. So I love to talk about worry overload. How do you stay centered? Well, you stop worrying. If only it was that easy, right? Like, simple. I've solved all your problems. And I think that's the heart of TED Talks and podcasts and books is stop your worry. But how? How do you stop your worry? I'm a perpetual, sorry, I touched my mic. I'm a perpetual worrier. I struggle with panic. So the work is our way around the worry overload that sometimes will overtake us, that will drag us down. I would probably, most of the time when I'm in my worry overload, I will lie on the road. I'm taking my road metaphor too far, but I do love a good metaphor. And I would probably just be like, I'm done, forget it. Many of us give up when we're in worry overload, or others of us overperform. Take your pick. My favorite is also overperforming, obviously. Look at this, right? But I believe that the way through the obstacle, the way over the obstacle, is to back up, take a breath, and think new thoughts. So I want to tell you about this very exciting nerve, the vagus nerve. Anybody familiar? You guys are like sweet sassy. How much more time do we have? 5 minutes, and then I'll take questions, maybe 10. Okay. So I want you guys to, if there's nothing you remember from this talk, or if there's anything you remember from this talk, it is this. If you are stressed, if you are in a state of worry overload, I want you to lengthen your exhale. Make your exhalation longer than your inhalation. What does that do? Stimulate something called the vagus nerve, which travels here to by your heart down to your abdomen. And that puts you into a state. It lowers your blood pressure, it decreases your heart rate. It's so hard for me just to stay on the topic because I got a lot to say about this, but I'm just going to focus on this. So the work is making your exhalation longer than your inhalation. Doesn't matter how much longer, a couple counts longer, but that will bring you into that state of centeredness and calm. It might take you a while, but just go there with me. We will try it after, because we don't have time for any breathing at this current moment. I'm kidding. Just breathe. We're just breathing. So I'm convinced, and this isn't me, it's Carl Jung. You guys know Carl Jung, the great, oh, bless his heart. He says, as my husband says, this is not his exact phrase. I'm paraphrasing. I feel like I need to say this to all of you. What you resist persists. Sometimes I make people say it with me, and it's super awkward. I will not make you guys do that. But what you resist, any emotion you resist is going to stick around, right? So you may think, I don't want to feel worry. I don't want to feel this anxiety, so I'm just going to shut it down. Guess what happens? It's not like it just magically disappears because you've forgotten about it. It stays in your body. I always say emotions, like you have a backpack that you're going to carry around of all your emotions, right? Throughout all your life. And you shove every emotion that you don't process into the backpack. And one day the backpack's going to get so heavy. And it's going to break at the worst time, right? Has anybody had a bag break? And it's like stuff, and your quarters go everywhere. I mean, people don't have, I know we have a coin shortage, so that's a really bad example. I got to come up with something else from the coins. But your bag breaks, right? And so you're crazily picking up all the things in your bag and you're embarrassed. That's what happens with our emotions. One day they're going to spill out all over and you're never going to know when, and you're never going to know where or why. So our work is to feel our emotions instead of shoving them down. And I believe, of course, I have developed a 5-step process to feel your emotions, right? Because why not? This is taken from various things. No, we're going to do this. I want you to think of an emotion. Let's do a happy emotion, right? Because I don't want happy emotion. Because you can feel all emotions, right? You name the emotion inside your head. You locate the emotion in your body. I feel joy in my heart center. I feel it in my chest, right? I feel it, right? So you understand, no, we're going to go through this and then I'm going to tell you why I have created this. Then you're going to give it a color, a shape, a temperature. And I know you think this is weird because everybody does. But I'm trying to get you from your left brain, your left side of your brain of processing the language, linear, logical, to the right side, that feeling, that emotional, the like intuitive sense. So trust me, there is a rhyme and there is a reason. So you're going to give it a color. And joy always is like bright white for me. Now, everybody's colors are different. Everybody's temperatures are different. But what I'm getting you to do is go back and forth between the hemispheres of your brain. And then you're going to breathe into it. You're going to feel it all. And people are always like, I'm sorry, Jess, how long will that take? Because I just want to, like, tick-tock, buttercup. We've got other things to do. I need to feel this emotion. I don't know how long it'll take. And here's the deal. You can feel the emotion and still walk around. You can feel sad and still talk to people. You can feel angry. This is a little hard for me. Angry about what's happening in the country, angry about what's happening in the world, and still be kind to people. You can feel it. I believe that we are overreactors to our emotions. I know I'm very talented at that. And then you create a new thought after you felt it. And you're like, okay, I felt that feeling. I felt that joy. I felt that worry. I felt that overwhelm. I see it. I know where it's at. I got this, right? Then you create a new intentional thought on the other side of feeling. So if you are, I remember I was telling us we needed to stay with a happy emotion. Your new intentional thought might be, I choose to feel good. It's okay to feel good. It's okay to feel joy. I think so many people don't know that they can feel happy or joyful or centered. We see people running around, so busy, so overwhelmed, and that's become our norm. And then you meet someone joyful. What is happening? What is happening? So I believe, let's run through this with worry. Worry. Where do you feel worry in your body? I feel it in my gut. Always. What color is worry? For me, it's like black, but you, brown, red, I've heard it all, orange. Burnt sienna, I was like, oh, you are amazing. But I'm not that talented. Breathe into it, you breathe. You just sit there and you feel it. You feel all of it. And on the other side of feeling, you're gonna decide, perhaps it's possible I don't have to worry about this. My favorite thought is worry only pretends to be necessary. So you come up with a new thought on the other side that will support you, support the way you want to think versus being at the mercy of your thoughts. Okay, so I said you would get a challenge, right? I don't know why, I just love a good challenge. When you're supposed to do, when you don't like a thing, is change it, right? Just change it. It's that simple. But if you can't change it, change the way you think about it. Thank you, Maya Angelou. So I believe the most powerful thing we can do, and go with me here, is write down our thoughts and our emotions and name them to tame them. I believe if you took 2 minutes every day to write down what's swirling around in that brain of yours, and that's a psychological term, it's not, but I think it should be, it will no longer have the hold on you because it's out in the light of day, it's out in the light, it's like there, and you can choose what to do with it. Once it's out on paper, or whether it's out, you've spoken it into an app that records what you're thinking day after day after day. I believe that this is the most powerful exercise we can do for our mental health. I challenge you to do it over a 7-day period. Perhaps next week, before the finals week, right? When your brain starts going. And your primitive brain is doing its job and saying, did you remember everything? Did you study this? Did you do this, right? You've got to get it all together. So the work is getting it down, just writing it out. If you guys do this, please send me an email and let me know how it went for you. Because I believe there is power in getting it out of your brain. In letting go of the hold that something has on you when you just ruminate, right? When you think over and over again about something, instead of saying, I'm thinking about this, I'm gonna name it. This is what I'm thinking about. So that is my tip. Do love a good Canva graphic, guys. Ask for help, please, please. You have so many resources on this campus. Ask for help if you need it. There is no shame. I think we should all either have a therapist, a coach, someone to talk to. I believe I would never be without it, right? Ask for help. You're never, ever, ever alone. And here's the deal. Let's be clear here. I know you guys are all like, I'm doing a thought download, wink, wink, but I know you are. And it's about imperfect action. You're gonna miss 7 days out of the 7 days. Guess what? At least you thought about it, right? So do it messy, do it done is better than perfect, do something. You can do this. And of course, I love a good anchor thought. What is an anchor thought? It's a thought that anchors you to the truth of what you want to feel. So oftentimes, let's talk about what you need to feel and what you need to think during finals, or during school, or when you're burnt out and overwhelmed. My thought, I want you guys to try this on, is very helpful to me. This is temporary. Everything's temporary, right? And when I'm like, this is too much, this is too hard, this is temporary, can get you through anything. I love that anchor thought. Okay, how did I do? I did it on time with 10 minutes of Q&A. This is me, email me. I am on the Instagrams. I hope today I'll be back because, as you heard. And then I have a podcast, Lives of Courage with Jessica Stong. I don't know, I talk about toxic positivity and toxic gratitude even. I talk about things that, like, how do you show up with courage? Courage is feeling the fear and still doing the thing, right? Because we're all gonna be afraid. It's our primitive brain's job. So live your life. Promise me you'll go out and do something that requires courage. Courage is just practice. Maybe move to France after you have a master's, right? Just a thought. It's a delightful place to live. Promise. Okay, thank you. Questions?
All right, yes. And I've got a mic here, so I'm just going to walk in your general vicinity.
How did I do?
It doesn't have to be up close to you, but go ahead.
So my first question was about the thought downloads.
Yes.
So I know some people will do like habit trackers. Do you recommend like assigning emotion to a whole day or just kind of writing them down as you feel them?
I'd say do you. So I do it as I feel them because I have lots of emotions throughout the day. And I know a lot of people do. So I say, as you do it, have on your phone, have your notes and just track, or I'll say into my phone, like, I'm overwhelmed, anger, right? And then I never know what I've written because it never works the way I think it should work. But I say do it as it happens. But some people, that's not accessible to them because they're so busy. So do it daily. Thank you for that question. And you had another one? No. Thank you. Oh, yes.
That one? Just going to reach over. There you go.
So what's the difference between, like, you're a life coach, obviously. What's the difference between you and, like, a therapist and psychiatrist, besides, like, prescribing meds, obviously?
Yes. So psychiatrist, medical doctor prescribes meds. Psychologist, they can diagnose, they can treat, they can do therapy. Therapist works from, they do amazing things. Cognitive behavioral therapists, which I was trained in, they design interventions with you. They teach you how to do thought downloads. They teach you how to do daily mood logs, right? Like, they do the same work. The only difference in the way that I have left the world of therapy, because I didn't want to operate in the medical model. I didn't want to give people a diagnosis and then create a treatment plan around that diagnosis. So I'm in the Wild West of, like, you do you, and you are incredible. And so I have turned off the part of my brain that sees diagnose. I haven't. I'm just going to be honest. And I refer. If I think someone needs real interventions, I know I have lots of friends in the world, and I refer. So oftentimes coaches, and I have a coach training program. Do you like that shameless plug, right? Like, who am I these days? But I train coaches in cognitive behavioral coaching. I'm writing a book about it. So it's really how you use and work with your thoughts and emotions to change your actions and your results. I just took the cognitive behavioral triad, I flipped it on its side and created a coaching program around that. It's not rocket scientists, people. Like, so that's the difference in the longest possible explanation you might ever hear. Thank you.
Jessica, I'm going to go a slightly different direction on a question for you. And it's a long question, so you have time to take a drink.
Thank you.
So, as part of your coaching business, you are also an entrepreneur, and all of this has come from you, right?
Yes.
So as comm students here, communication students, how can you talk a little bit about how communication and branding and entrepreneurship and all of that has gone into building your own company?
I love you. It's just like you do this every day. You're so good at this. Okay, so I am a serial entrepreneur. I lived in London. I created a business, right? But at the time when I was in London, we didn't have to have brands. People just called me. And now I had to learn the hard work of creating brands, getting clear about your marketing, your vision, how you communicate that. You guys can do anything. After studying what you have learned in this program, I had to be self-taught and pay obscene amounts of money for online courses that did not teach me. I mean, look at your setup, right? I had to call Jess, learn how to do a podcast, right? By trial and error. I had to learn to pay someone to do my logo, right? But more importantly, I had to get clear, and you guys will learn this. If you want to start your own business, it is available to you. The work is in crafting the vision. And this is the vision for your life, but the vision for your business. And that, I think, is immensely powerful, but it also requires so much courage because you are the face of your business. You are, like, people look at this beautiful, or they look at your pink, and they'll make choices, they'll make decisions about who you are and what you represent. And so the work in creating a business and being an entrepreneur is really having courage to step out and say, this is me, this is what I stand for, and this is what I'm gonna do. I always say, if you wanna start a business, this sounds mean, right? Be prepared to come across every limiting belief that you've ever thought, any hard, negative thought you've ever thought about yourself, because it's all gonna come up. And that is the best work there is. If you wanna streamline your life and get clear about who you are and what you're able to achieve, start a business and call me, and then I'll celebrate for you. I'll cheer for you. My husband's a serial entrepreneur. We believe in this. He does not help me with this. Let's be clear here. He does not even let me coach him. I'm kidding. But this is the work. When you decide that you have a message to share with the world, you're going to do anything it takes to share that. So each of you, I believe, have something inside of you to share. And you have the tools to do it. I'm so jealous. I wish if I could do it all over again. I'm not joking here. I would go and learn communications because that's all my business is. I thought I would just coach and what is it? Field of dreams, create it and the people will come. Sweet sassy. It's not, you gotta craft a vision for your business. You guys should also know that I forget the question, and so I just keep talking. Did I answer your question?
You did. But don't you also have an internship you want to pitch?
Oh, yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
If anybody is looking for an internship, I'm looking for an intern. I had an intern. She's graduated. So you create graphics for social media, you do podcasts, whatever you want to do. I mean, look at me. It's whatever. I always tailor it to the person who is coming in, right? I have some ideas, but I want to make it your experience. So if anybody is looking for an internship, and I mean, look, you can work from home, you can come to my office, which I don't know why I winked. It's a home office. That seemed weird. And I winked at Jess. I don't know why I did that.
It sounded weirder than you meant it to.
It's a great office above my garage. So if anybody is looking, please let me know. Here's my email, or you can message me. Nope, you can't. I'm hopeful you can message me on Instagram soon. My whole life was Instagram, right? And then voila, not my whole life, lest you think that I'm on all the time. It's time.
Oh,
How did I do? Okay.
You're good. We've got a couple minutes. She's acting like she's over time, but we're totally fine. Does anybody else have any last questions? Kevin, she's gonna make me walk all the way over here. With
I
the
know
mic.
you did. It's
Come
good
on,
exercise. Like she hasn't been pacing, right?
All right. Do you ever allow yourself to have a bad day?
Oh my heavens.
And how do you turn that into something you've learned or a positive?
Who are you? Thank you for that question. So I have struggled often. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. I live with MS. I don't know if any of you know what that is. And that requires me to have some really, really shitty days, right? Some days where my legs don't work, some days where I can't do the things I normally do. And so what I do is I allow myself to feel the anger, the injustice, the overwhelm, because if I don't process that, it sticks around and it shows up in other ways. That is the best question, because I believe that the work in our lives is to feel our feelings. And I think the reason I developed that 5-step process is because I think people aren't taught how to feel their feelings. In fact, I wasn't. I believe that there are 4 ways we respond to our emotions. 1 is distraction. I'm really good at that. Like, I'm going to watch Netflix for 78 hours. And probably I have watched every Netflix show. Like, just. Second is resisting your emotions. So you shove it down. You're like, what? I'm not anxious. I'm not overwhelmed. I feel great, right? You see the people like, how are you? I'm fine, right? Third is to overreact. And I give the example of when I think my family is not helping me clean around the house, I angry clean. I loudly clean. And like, right? That's overreacting to the way I feel. And the fourth is just to feel it and process it and move on. We all have hard, horrible things happen to us, right? And the work is not saying it shouldn't have happened. Well, although, I mean, let's be clear here, I often think that. But the work is changing how we think about it and really feeling it so that we can change how we think about it. That's such a good, thank you for that. Because I don't want people to get the idea or the mistaken belief that you have to be happy all the time. Because that is setting yourself up for failure. Thank you. I didn't mean to point aggressively as well. Thank you.
She did mean to.
I did.
She's an aggressive point. Any last questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I lived in London for 5 years, so I curtsy. I feel like I have